Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to talk through The Great Mental Models, Volume 2 Physics, Chemistry and Biology by Rhiannon Bobine and Shane Parrish, published in 2019. This book explores the core mental models from physics, chemistry, and biology, and how they can be applied to real-world examples. The models discussed in this book are foundational and have applications beyond their academic fields. It emphasizes the importance of using these models as lenses to understand and analyze different situations, and discusses how these models can provide insight into understanding complex problems and improving decision-making. The book also highlights the value of perspective taking and how it can help us see different viewpoints and understand multiple perspectives. It emphasizes that our perspective is subjective and limited, and that integrating multiple perspectives can provide a more complete understanding of reality. Eyewitness testimonies and memory distortions are used as examples to illustrate the subjectivity of perspective. The author presents examples from various scenarios, including a trial, historical accounts, and physics, to illustrate the complexity of perspective, and emphasizes the need to recognize our own biases and limitations and to actively seek out different perspectives to gain a more accurate understanding of reality. The principle of reciprocity is also explored, highlighting the idea that interactions involve a reciprocal exchange and that giving can be as valuable as receiving. By embracing multiple perspectives and practicing reciprocity, individuals can enhance their problem-solving abilities and develop more meaningful relationships. Reciprocity can be understood as the principle of what you give, you get. It highlights the idea that when you act on something, there is a corresponding reaction. While it would be ideal if every good action resulted in positive outcomes, this isn't always the case. Sometimes good intentions lead to negative results or even harm to those who have done good deeds. However, there is a documented relationship between doing good things and benefiting oneself. The life of Norman Bethune, a Canadian surgeon, provides an example of the complexities of reciprocity. Bethune's story shows that when we give, we often receive something in return, even if it can't always be measured in tangible rewards. This concept can be seen in the positive effects of volunteering, as research has found that it improves mental and physical health, life satisfaction, and happiness. Reciprocity also touches on game theory and the strategies of tit for tat, which emphasize reciprocal cooperation. Overall, the concept of reciprocity suggests that when we do good, we not only benefit others but also ourselves. In ancient times, demonstrating military prowess was a way for kings to gain legitimacy. However, an interesting shift occurred when two kings, Ramesses of Egypt and Hattusili of the Hittites, entered into the world's first known peace treaty. The treaty, known as the Eternal Treaty, was a reciprocal relationship aimed at establishing stability and allowing the kings to focus on their own goals. This treaty proved to be an effective deterrent against external threats and helped legitimize Hattusili's rule. The concept of reciprocity is deeply ingrained in human behavior, and it is tied to feelings of satisfaction or joy at the misfortune of others. This joy is strongest when someone seems to deserve their misfortune. Understanding the laws of thermodynamics also provides insights into human behavior, such as the pursuit of equilibrium and the need to expend energy to maintain order. Border walls, while they may serve a physical and psychological purpose, ultimately fail to prevent the exchange of ideas and values between different societies. The Romans recognized this when they built Hadrian's Wall and focused on controlling the movement of people and goods rather than completely stopping it. Walls alone cannot fulfill their intended purpose. They require personnel to enforce them. The Romans understood that completely preventing cultural equilibrium was costly and accepted that their society could still function despite external influences. Bobine and Parrish discusses the concept of equilibrium and its relationship to the construction of walls throughout history. They emphasize that walls not only physically restrict movement, but also shape ideas and social norms. The Great Wall of China serves as an example of how barriers designed to separate two cultures are ultimately ineffective, as there is always a push for intermingling and cultural equilibrium. Similarly, the Berlin Wall was erected to prevent the mixing of ideologies, but ultimately contributed to its downfall and the inevitable force toward equilibrium. The book also explores the concept of entropy and how humans strive to maintain order and combat disorder through structures such as laws, religions, and storytelling. Fairy tales, in particular, provide a framework for understanding and reducing the randomness and chaos of life. Overall, Bobine and Parrish's book suggests that walls and attempts to control or prevent equilibrium are ultimately futile endeavors. Fairy tales provide order to a chaotic world by presenting a way to understand and navigate it. They offer a predictable and structured narrative that appeals to audiences across cultures and generations as they address issues that have significant social function. While deviations from the archetypal narrative may be interesting, the most commercially successful works often closely follow the traditional structure of fairy tales. This is because narratives help combat entropy and the meaninglessness of life by imposing patterns and creating a coherent identity. Inertia, both in physics and in our behavior, explains why it is easier to continue with habits and products that have been ingrained over time. The longer something has existed, the greater the effort required to change it. This is why lead, despite being known to be toxic for centuries, continues to be used in various products, while absinthe, with its shorter history, was quickly abandoned. This underscores the importance of understanding inertia and the resistance to change. Beliefs can become entrenched habits, making them resistant to change. This inertia of belief can blind us to new opportunities or cause us to dismiss new information that doesn't align with our existing beliefs. The history of invention is a testament to the dismissal of new ideas, from radio and the telephone to cars and laptops. However, strong beliefs can also help us persevere through obstacles and setbacks. Lise Meitner, a nuclear physicist, demonstrated this perseverance in the face of prejudice and adversity. Despite being marginalized and overshadowed by her male colleagues, Meitner's passion for physics and her belief in herself propelled her to make significant contributions to nuclear physics. Inertia can hinder change, but it can also fuel determination and resilience. Overall, beliefs with persistence and flexibility can support us through challenges and lead to progress. Bobine and Parrish discusses how the communications environment in Soviet Russia was manipulated to control the flow of information, making it difficult for people to communicate effectively. This highly viscous environment had negative consequences, such as the Chernobyl disaster, where a lack of information sharing led to widespread radiation poisoning. The Soviet leadership's preoccupation with image, fear of taking responsibility, and focus on controlling negative information contributed to the high viscosity of the information environment. Similarly, the writer explores how the mass production system in companies like Ford hindered innovation by creating a high-friction environment for frontline workers. In contrast, Toyota's lean production system focused on reducing friction and empowering workers, which resulted in improved car quality, production efficiency, and worker morale. Creating an environment with low friction is crucial for fostering innovation and allowing individuals to take initiative. The author explores the concepts of friction, velocity, and direction in achieving goals. Understanding the environment and forces at play is crucial for achieving success. Reducing resistance is often more effective than using more force, and that both friction and viscosity can be utilized as tools. The distinction between speed and velocity is discussed, with velocity being more focused on the direction of movement rather than just the speed. The example of Napoleon's military campaigns is used to demonstrate how velocity can lead to success, but also how it can have limitations. The importance of clear communication, adaptability, and considering the full scope of goals is also emphasized, using examples of Mae West's career decisions. In the 1930s, a woman named Eleanor earned more than any other female in the world. Second only to media tycoon William Randolph Hearst, she was successful because she focused on the long game, making decisions to increase her velocity in the right direction. Velocity challenges us to think about what we can do to move towards our goals. Gains come from improving tactics and being able to adjust to new information. Similarly, leverage is about achieving results greater than the force put in. Leverage can be found in various areas of life, such as written language and standardization of processes. Levers provide leverage, whether physical or metaphorical, and can be used to maximize our return. In human interactions, leverage is based on shared value and perceptions. It is important to know how and when to apply leverage, as well as how to maintain it. Eleanor of Aquitaine is an example of someone who used leverage to attain and maintain power. Eleanor of Aquitaine was a powerful and influential woman who understood the value of leverage. She relied not only on her relationships with her husbands and son, but also on her own actions and investments in Aquitaine. By financially supporting building projects and settling disputes among the nobles, Eleanor maintained influence and mitigated the effects of her husband and son's rule. She wanted Aquitaine to continue to be ruled by her offspring and worked to pass on the leverage of the region to her son John. However, leverage can have a dark side when it is used to exploit and control, as seen in the coal company towns of West Virginia. It is important to use leverage strategically and paired with reciprocity to achieve better outcomes. Activation energy, both in chemistry and in life, is necessary to initiate and sustain change. It requires enough energy to break old bonds and form new ones, ensuring a complete and lasting transformation. The book discusses the concept of activation energy in the context of producing real and sustained change. It emphasizes the need to not only focus on breaking apart an existing structure, but also on the steps required to build a new one. The example of Thomas Sankara's revolution in Burkina Faso is used to illustrate the importance of sustained effort and planning in achieving lasting change. The author then shifts to discuss the activation energy required for economic development, citing examples from Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. It argues that successful economic transformation requires a comprehensive approach that includes maximizing agricultural output, directing investment towards manufacturing, and implementing financial policies that support these goals. Bobine and Parrish's book discusses the concept of catalysts and their role in accelerating change. It highlights that catalysts are not required for a reaction to occur, but they make things easier and reduce the time required for change to happen. The authors use examples such as the printing press and the Black Death to illustrate how catalysts can have unexpected consequences and lead to significant societal transformations. They also mention the importance of finding the right catalyst, as different reactions require different catalysts. Overall, the message emphasizes the idea that catalysts play a crucial role in bringing about change and making processes faster, cheaper, and safer. The book discusses the concept of alloying, where combining different elements can create a substance with unique properties and capabilities that individual elements cannot achieve. It gives examples of alloys, such as bronze and steel, which have greatly impacted human history by providing better tools, weapons, and materials. Bobine and Parrish's book also explains how alloying can be applied in various fields, such as medicine, where combining different drugs can create more effective treatments. The idea of alloying is not limited to physical substances. It can also be applied to knowledge, where combining different components like theory, experience, curiosity, imagination, and communication can create a stronger and more powerful understanding. Overall, alloying is a catalyst for progress and development in various aspects of life. Leonardo da Vinci was ahead of his time in many ways, including his understanding of alloys and their role in reducing friction. He was the first to record the best mix of metals for an anti-friction alloy, using 3 parts copper and 7 parts tin. This was similar to the alloy he used to make mirrors. This demonstrates the value of combining deep specialized knowledge with a broader understanding of the physical world. Evolution is a powerful mental model that explains success and failure and the relationship between the environment and individuals. Natural selection and extinction are part of this process, and organisms must adapt to survive. Extinctions can occur due to competition, changes in the environment, or complex interdependencies within ecosystems. Generalist species tend to be more resilient than specialists. The same principles of natural selection and extinction can be applied to the development and progression of non-living things, as well as social and cultural artifacts. Languages also undergo evolution and can thrive or go extinct depending on their adaptability to changing geopolitical environments. French is an example of a successful language that evolved and spread due to its adaptability and usefulness. The popularity of printed materials in the past led to the development of rules and standards in French, making it easier to learn. French also adapted and spread through colonialism, incorporating words from other languages. However, there were limitations to French's adaptation, as it was influenced by French culture and lacked words in scientific and technical fields. The book contrasts the evolution of French with Latin, a dead language that had a lasting influence on many modern languages. It emphasizes the importance of adaptation for languages to survive and the role of natural selection in shaping language evolution. French failed to adapt to the changing nature of warfare leading up to 1939, while the Germans were more willing to embrace new tactics. The French, still operating under outdated thinking from World War I, had modern equipment but lacked modern organization and investment in air power. On the other hand, the Germans, although not fully efficient or modern, recognized the new theory of high-speed warfare and were willing to try new tactics. General Guderian, in particular, played a key role in leading an adaptive German response, penetrating the French defenses and ultimately occupying France. The Red Queen effect, a principle of evolutionary biology, is also explored, highlighting the constant need for adaptation and the pressures to keep up in a changing environment. Feathers first emerged in dinosaurs for purposes of insulation and attracting mates, not flight. Natural selection favored dinosaurs with feathers because they allowed for better survival and reproduction. Feathers later became useful for flight in modern birds as they were repurposed to support this new function. This is an example of exaptation, where a structure originally used for one purpose is then used for a different purpose. Exaptations are advantageous for survival because they expand options in response to changing environmental conditions. Exaptation can be seen in other animals as well, such as pandas having a wrist bone that aids in manipulating bamboo, their primary food source. The concept of exaptation can also be applied to technology, as seen in the development of wireless communication techniques. Exaptation teaches us the value of maintaining diverse tools and being open to repurposing existing resources. Competition is a driving force in human systems, including business, where it leads to improvements and benefits for consumers. Ecosystems, on the other hand, consist of interacting species and their environment, with each component influencing the characteristics of the system. Ecosystems are complex and interconnected, and intervening in them can have unpredictable outcomes. For example, attempting to control forest fires can disrupt the natural cycle of nutrients, sunlight, and growth. Similarly, efforts to save endangered species often focus on interventions instead of preserving their natural habitats. Keystone species play a crucial role in maintaining the balance of an ecosystem, and the resilience of an ecosystem depends on its capacity for resistance and recovery from disturbances. Understanding ecosystems can provide valuable insights into the dynamics of human organizations and relationships. The author presents two examples to illustrate the lessons that can be learned from ecosystems. The first example is the resilient Chinese community in Manila, which grew within the larger changes to China's trade policy. Despite facing repression and massacres by the Spanish, the Chinese community continued to thrive and contribute to the trade in town. The second example is Bill Walsh, the former general manager and head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, who built a championship-winning football team by creating a culture that recognized the value of a well-functioning ecosystem. Walsh understood the importance of each individual's role and the need for flexibility and adaptability in the organization. Bobine and Parrish discusses the concept of generalists and specialists in both the natural world and the business world. In the natural world, generalists are species that can adapt to a wide range of environments and have a larger population, while specialists are species that have specific requirements and occupy a niche. Generalists can outcompete specialists and have a higher chance of survival. In the business world, generalist companies target a wide audience and have extensive competition, while specialist companies focus on catering to a specific niche and face less competition. The authors also explain convergence, which refers to the process where an unrelated species evolves similar traits in order to survive in similar environments. This concept shows that certain traits and behaviors are recurrent in nature due to their effectiveness in specific environments. Bobine and Parrish use the example of Coca-Cola to illustrate how the company successfully marketed itself as a generalist by appealing to a diverse range of consumers. Bobine and Parrish also discusses the concept of self-preservation in both humans and other organisms. Self-preservation is an innate behavior that ensures protection from harm and the desire for survival. Organisms have various ways of ensuring their survival, such as reflexes and the fight, flight, or freeze response. In some cases, individuals may sacrifice themselves for the survival of their species or group. Territorial behavior is another aspect of self-preservation, ensuring access to necessary resources. However, self-preservation is not limited to immediate survival, as some individuals may risk their lives for a cause or a better future. The desire for a meaningful existence and the bond within a group can motivate individuals to put their lives at risk for the survival and well-being of others. Gioconda Belli, a woman who played a significant role in the Sandinista revolution in Nicaragua. Belli's commitment to the revolution and her willingness to sacrifice her own safety for the greater good exemplify the instinct of self-preservation tied to the preservation of a legacy. The book then moves on to discuss the preservation of knowledge through libraries, using the discovery of the Nineveh Library as an example. It highlights the importance of preserving records and knowledge to leave a legacy for future generations. Next, the focus shifts to the concept of replication in biology. The process of cell replication and its vital role in sustaining life is explained. The book also discusses sexual reproduction and the advantages it offers in creating genetic diversity. However, it notes that replication without diversity can be detrimental. Using the example of the Habsburg family and their specific genetic traits resulting from generations of inbreeding, the book emphasizes the significance of self-preservation and replication in shaping human behavior and ensuring the preservation of both individual and collective identity. It discusses the negative consequences of inbreeding seen in the Habsburg family, which ultimately led to their demise. The lack of genetic diversity resulted in the replication of harmful mutations across generations. The importance of adaptability and innovation in replication is highlighted through the example of the German army's response to Napoleon's tactics. The Germans developed a new strategy called Commander's Intent, which allowed for flexibility while executing the overall strategy. The idea of replication is further explored through the spread of tea culture around the world. The adaptability of tea, which can be modified based on cultural preferences, led to its replication in various countries. The key takeaway is that successful replication requires a balance between structure and flexibility. Cooperation is a powerful force that allows for the emergence of new properties and abilities beyond what the individual components can achieve on their own. The origin of mitochondria in cells is an example of cooperation in biology, where mitochondria, the energy-producing organelles, are now an indispensable part of cells due to a mutually beneficial relationship with the host cell. Similarly, the symbiotic relationship between cows and the bacteria in their digestive systems allows cows to digest tough plant foods. In human society, cooperation between different industries, such as the railroad and telegraph, has resulted in significant progress and efficiency. The success of symphony orchestras depends on perfect cooperation and trust among musicians to create a harmonious musical experience. Cooperation, whether in biological organisms or human societies, is essential for survival, growth, innovation, and the emergence of new capabilities. The book discusses the concept of social relationships and hierarchies in humans. Dunbar's research suggests that our larger brains evolved to accommodate larger social groups, highlighting the importance of social success for survival. Dunbar proposed a scale of closeness, indicating the number of individuals we can maintain relationships with at each level. Hierarchies are found in both humans and animals, providing order and reducing conflict. However, hierarchies can also be unequal and limit opportunities for those at the bottom. Bobine and Parish's book mentions the French Revolution as an example of people rebelling against an unfair social hierarchy. It emphasizes the need to be aware of hierarchies and to structure them in a way that benefits everyone involved. Hierarchy is inherent in human society and has been justified throughout history. They challenge the idea that the best leaders are always the top performers or the ones who possess certain dominant traits. Instead, the authors suggest that leadership should be based on serving the interests of the group and earning moral authority. They also explores how hierarchies are formed and broken down, using the example of the 2010 Copiapo mining accident in Chile. In addition, they touche on the role of incentives in shaping human behavior, including the biases and irrationalities involved in evaluating rewards and punishments. Repeated chasing of an incentive, like the reward of feeling good from using drugs, can result in the brain no longer pursuing the actual reward of the incentive, but rather the pursuit itself. Incentives have a strong impact on human biology, and this is evident in politics and business as well. In democracies, individuals prioritize short-term incentives over long-term goals, which affects decision-making and policies. Politicians focus on immediate rewards to gain voter support, while publicly traded companies sacrifice long-term growth for short-term profits. These short-term incentives permeate various aspects of our lives, and to create change, it is necessary to alter the incentives. Incentives not only involve financial rewards, but also play into our psychological condition and can manipulate our behavior and decision-making. Understanding the power of incentives and being aware of their influence can help individuals align their actions with their values. The author discussed the concept of minimizing energy output and its impact on decision-making and design. Humans, like other species, have a tendency to conserve energy, which influences the choices we make. We often prioritize short-term rewards and immediate gratification over long-term satisfaction, leading to negative consequences. Organisms in nature have developed energy-efficient mechanisms to ensure survival, such as cold-blooded animals conserving energy by not maintaining stable internal body temperatures. In human decision-making, heuristics or shortcuts are used to save energy, but they can also lead to biases and suboptimal outcomes. Open-plan offices, while reducing costs, can increase cognitive load and hinder focus, leading to decreased productivity. Overall, understanding our tendency to minimize energy output can help us make better choices and design environments that promote efficiency. Bobine and Parrish's book concludes by emphasizing the importance of effective office design that recognizes and honors the human tendency to minimize energy output. It highlights the need for spaces that allow for both focus and movement, rather than environments that increase the energy required to get work done. It also encourages reflection as a key component of learning and suggests journaling as a means of stimulating reflection and learning from experiences. Bobine and Parrish encourages readers to use the mental models presented in the book and to continue learning and refining their thinking processes. The next book in the series will cover models from systems and numeracy and emphasizes the usefulness of these models in anticipating and planning for the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'll see you in the next video.